Rest of the grid, Dave McMillan in the RT4, then Brian Hartley, Frank Radicic and Heather Spurl in the back in the Chevron. And the last man in the field is Jeff Champion, the karting man. And there is the pole car, Brett Riley, who's had a little off this morning already in the warm-up and damaged the nose cone. That's not a major, easy enough to fix, but let's hope that they haven't bent some of the suspension there as well. Co-commentating with us today is Graham McRae. And Graham, it's fortunate for a lot of these drivers, particularly with a circuit like this, that the minor damage to nose cones and such like in fiberglass is relatively easy to fix.
Yes, but I spoke to Brett Riley just a little bit earlier, and he apparently had torn off the whole front suspension, which you can see working on now. Hopefully they're going to be ready in time.
Not a nice thing to happen immediately before having to start on pole.
No, it's not, and the suspension could be set slightly different to what it was when he was the fastest out there earlier.
While we're waiting for the Formula Pacifics to get out on the track, they're obviously waiting for Brett Riley there. Here's a car that will bring a lot of memories back to a lot of New Zealanders. I can remember it from my very early youth at Wigram with Leo Leonard at the wheel. Built and put together by Sir Robertson Stewart of the PDL Industries fame. And this was a car that attracted a lot of attention, Graham. I think you probably remember it as well as I do with officialdom.
Yes, I remember it very well. In fact, the car was built so well and it went so fast that it virtually annihilated the opposition, and they changed the class because it was so much in a class of its own.
I remember once at Wigram where he gave them 3/4 of a lap start in a 6-lap race and still won it. With Leo Leonard at the wheel.
Yes, well, I think still the public like to see these big, very, very powerful cars. Even if they don't have too much close competition, they're a spectacle by themselves.
A phenomenal motor car in its day, and as Graham McRae said, it was so much ahead of its time that it really annihilated the opposition. And I think it was little sour grapes in several cases that saw it protested virtually out of the competition. And in the end, I think Bob Stewart decided that it was probably better to park it in a museum than to have the hassle with officialdom and with the other drivers.
Yes, it was really a shame that they didn't bring more of these cars over and compete here, and I think the spectators would have had a huge thrill.
The car was actually built to American International Motorsport Association, that's IMSA specifications, based on development work done by Charles Kemp, who's a well-known builder of Ford-based racing cars in the United States. Engine 6 litres, 366 cubic inch, develops 540 horsepower at a conservative estimate, and based on one of the very rare aluminium 351 Cleveland box, into which was inserted a custom-built Moldex crankshaft and lots of other very sophisticated gear. This is certainly not a souped-up saloon car. It is a purpose-built racing car. Just having a little tool around the circuit, certainly not driving it in anger. And I'm sure Leo Leonard, I saw sitting down before on the pit wall, is enjoying watching it going round, because he's one of the very few people who knows precisely how fast this car goes. And wasn't he good to watch it, Graham?
Yes, he was. In fact, I was probably too busy doing my own racing down there at that time to watch all of these races, but most people did come across to the fences and watch the saloon car racing in the days gone by. The all-comers, in fact, even Robbie Franzovic and Paul Fahey and co all had very, very powerful cars in those days.
Certainly the history of New Zealand motor racing is as much associated with saloon cars as it is with single-seaters. And while the purists of the sport have always maintained that single-seaters are the premier class, I think a lot of the crowds over the years would have disagreed with them. Still waiting for the Formula Pacifics to get out onto the course. Let's see if we can get a word while we're waiting for them to come out with Brett Riley, who's down there. Graham Booth is about to talk to him. Let's see if we can find out exactly what happened.
Well, Brett, I think we've all got our fingers crossed for you just at this very moment. The guys are working frantically on the car there behind us. Does it look as though you'll be able to start?
I think luckily we'll be there, Graham. I made a big mistake this morning. I was going a bit fast too soon on a drying circuit, and I just managed to clip one of the big tyres coming onto the bridge, and it pulled the front corner off the car.
So basically the guys have had to replace, what, the whole right-hand suspension, the wishbones, upright and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, all the damage is on the left-hand front, the wishbones and rockers and things like that, but hopefully it should be okay. We won't know till we get out there because we haven't run since then, but